Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Chairman Carr, on your first appearance as chair. Let me just ask you, if approvals and enforcement actions have been conditioned on private companies' DEI practices, the public deserves to know how much of the agency's time and taxpayer funding is being spent on investigating and challenging these practices, because this means deprioritizing other critical objectives like broadband affordability, tribal broadband, and efficient use of the spectrum. So can you quantify the staff and legal resources or the funds that you've allocated towards investigating and engaging companies on their use of DEI policies? Can you quantify that?
Yeah, thank you, Congressman, for the question. I can work with the team and see if we have any data available for you. What I can assure you, though, is over these first 100 days, there's been no trade-offs in terms of pursuing one issue set like this versus rural broadband or other issues.
Would you provide us with that information?
I'll work with the team and see what data we have available.
Okay. Secondly, let me go back. You've been a consistent supporter of the Universal Service Fund throughout your time at FCC, and you know as well as anyone how important the USF is to keep America connected. When it comes to rural areas like the ones that I represent, USF is critical to help make the business case for rural broadband investment, to sustain ongoing operations, and to keep the rates for rural Americans more affordable. In your statement with the FCC's report on the future of the Universal Service Fund, you noted the importance of congressional guidance and even additional authority in certain cases with respect to the possible use of USF reform. We now have a Supreme Court case pending that could have significant implications for these programs, and leaders in Congress have been considering possible reforms through individual bills and a broader working group. Consistent with your prior assessment, do you plan to defer making any material changes to the administration of the USF until Congress provides you with direct guidance on reforms to both the contribution mechanism and the distribution programs, and until Congress also gives the FCC additional authority where needed?
Thank you, Congressman, for the question. As you indicated, I've had the chance to travel all across the country, including to Georgia, to Alaska, to everywhere in between. I've seen the great work that American broadband providers do with the aid of the Universal Service Program. To your point, that program right now has a fundamental challenge to it that's before the Supreme Court. In the main, we are waiting to see how that Supreme Court case plays out, and if there's a potential after that there may be a need for additional congressional legislation, then we'll come to Congress to address that issue.
Okay, thank you for that. The USF is increasingly under strain with the contribution factor nearing 37%, and the cost burden is mostly shouldered by elderly Americans. What steps is the FCC taking to ensure the long-term financial sustainability of the USF-supported programs like E-Rate and Lifeline, especially in light of increased demand and narrowing contribution base? If the FCC is not planning on taking action on this, how should we in Congress reform USF to achieve the imperative?
Yeah, this is a really important question that I think a lot of people don't understand, which is to say, we have all these universal service programs we run out of the FCC. It's roughly $9 billion a year. But the way that $9 billion is funded is by a line item that's added to the monthly traditional telephone bill. And as you indicated, that can skew different directions in terms of the constituents that bear the brunt of that. And that number has now spiked to in excess of 30%. And it's really stuck in a death spiral. So I do think we need to take some sort of fundamental action to address that spiking level of USF. One option is we're obviously increasingly getting more and more additional technologies that are filtering into the broadband ecosystem. And if we proceed in a technology neutral way, now that doesn't mean that we don't have speed and latency thresholds that we set, but a technology neutral way above and beyond that, that could in the long term help drive some savings, at least around the edges.
Okay. Let me quickly, I just have a few seconds. When you use taxpayer dollars to travel to Virginia State University in April of 23 and Jackson State in February of 18, two prominent HBCUs. You gave speeches highlighting the need for workforce policies that would, quote, help ensure that all Americans have an opportunity to develop the skills needed to participate in the digital economy, end of quote. Would you consider that the use of taxpayer dollars to promote DEI efforts? And of course, your usage of the term DEI is intentionally vague, so it can be applied selectively based on what is personally or politically expedient.
No, Congress, I would not define those visits as constituting any form of sort of invidious DEI discrimination.
I didn't say discrimination, I said efforts.